Shut up and sit down.
Bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle.
However you call them, underwear, pants, briefs, knickers, they should never be worn underneath your cycling shorts.
It's very important to wear our safety gear.
No such thing, bad student, only bad teacher. Teacher say, student do.
So, you're back for more? All I can promise is mediocrity at its best. That said, I bring you the supremely mediocre podcast crew of Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. I know that you only came for the intro. No worries. I won't tell the guys if you promise to keep listening. Thank you and enjoy.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Vondering, and today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in the house. My sole purpose is to embarrass my kids. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Hey, Lance. Evan Price, welcome back.
How's it going, guys?
Good to have you back in the rotation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs?
Hey. All right.
Predictable.
So today is, it's not going to be any different for you guys. It's a little atypical for us, and we'll get into that in just a moment. And normally we would jump into our back pedal, but today we are just going to pedal. And why are we just going to pedal, boys? Anyone want to chime in on this?
Yeah, so we're gonna record this one a touch early. It's not that early. It's probably about a week prior to the release of this particular podcast. But it's a little bit earlier compared to what we usually do, so we don't have as much of a back pedal to talk about. So calling it a pedal.
Yeah, we're going to call it a pedal.
Call it a pedal.
We're going to pedal just so you guys have something to listen to next week, because we've got a lot of stuff coming up in our own personal lives, and we just kind of had to press pause, but we want to make sure that we give you something. So let's pedal this thing. Evan, pedal.
All right. Pedaling forward. In a couple days, I will be traveling to Cleveland, Ohio. Why Cleveland? I'm not exactly sure. I really don't know why the race was decided to be in Cleveland. But I will be at the national championship for the Olympic distance triathlon, along with a couple other people from this area, which is great. So,
did you have to qualify to get into that race?
Yeah, you do have to qualify for nationals. It's a pretty loose qualification process because they try to get as many people as they can there, which really, in my opinion, makes it more fun. Like when you go to it's a circus there.
Yeah,
it is a fun circus though.
Thousands of athletes.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, it is jam packed. It's still. Some people hate it. It's my favorite race all year. I love it.
Fun.
It is so much fun to go. Anybody who's considering it, don't be intimidated by it. It's like the mecca of amateur triathlon in America every single year. It's a blast.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Lance, you don't know this, but you actually did qualify, and
fantastic!
You don't have to finish a triathlon, but you did qualify. Congratulations!
Thank you. You're welcome.
I actually think if you win short track, it's kind of like when you can qualify for Boston at Kona. You know, does anybody know you can actually qualify for the Boston Marathon at Kona,
which is crazy.
Which, in my opinion, if you qualify for the Boston Marathon at Kona,
baller.
You are baller. That is
baller.
But I'm pretty sure Lance is coming with me now because he did qualify at short track after.
But I mean, what if that was like the whole plan where you're just like tank the swim, tank the bike, you're just like constantly taking in water on the bike, and you're like, all right, let's Boston qualify this thing.
110 heart rate the whole time, warm up for that. That would be cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Like did a 14-hour qualifying Boston time.
Yeah.
So that's your big reason why you're not going to be around next week, is you're going to be traveling back from nationals.
Yeah.
How are you feeling for this thing?
I never like making like big in my head. I make plenty of like goals for myself. Like I have lots of goals. I really don't like voicing a lot of those because for me, it's like, I'm just going to go there. It's fine. I'm not somebody who gets skittish before races at all. I love going into a race knowing that I've prepared for it. And I have no nerves about the preparation going into this race.
Is Cleveland at elevation? You got nothing to worry about.
So two things. I don't think I could get any further away from what St. George is and what Bend, Oregon is than Cleveland, Ohio. It's humid, sea level, and not dry heat.
You're going to kill it then.
That's what I'm hoping.
I know you're swimming well, and I know you're biking well. How's the running going?
The running's been steady all year.
Okay.
And I've put together some really long, good run weeks consistently all year. So the run is not something I'm nervous about.
Good.
I'm really not nervous about the bike. I'm excited to go out there and hammer on the bike.
You're going to have people to race, which is good. You know?
Yeah, that is definitely. I just got to keep the head on the turn signals and make sure that I'm turning correctly and not getting lost on the course.
Right.
So you fly out
tomorrow morning, super early.
That's Thursday, and then you race on Saturday or
Saturday.
Sunday? Okay.
Saturday.
Cool.
Yeah.
So by the time the people listening to the podcast hear the podcast, they can go check results.
Yeah.
The results will be out.
USAT. Yep.
USAT. Okay.
So let's take some bets.
Yeah.
How are we going to do here, buddy?
So I'm going to let you three take bets on here. Well, so my best finish at nationals was like, I think 38th or 39th. This is as good as I've ever done.
Okay.
I was like 2 years ago, I want to say.
Out of how many people?
Is this for your age group?
No, that was overall. That was overall, yeah.
Dang.
I know, right?
Yeah. I like the Olympic distance a lot.
Yeah.
So
where do we set the over-under at?
Let's set the over-under at 20.
20? Wow.
Yeah, top 20.
So
overall.
You're feeling that
this
good,
is overall.
huh?
I'm feeling that good. This is what I told somebody. I expect myself to be top 30. Good day is top 20. Everything goes perfect is top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just do over-under. What do you think, Lance? Over or under?
Under. 15th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Lance, I like that pressure. Thank you.
How about you, Matt?
I don't know. He's had some rough races this season.
Yes.
So
it's been some underperforming.
It could just be like he thinks he's great and all that stuff, but no.
He's right.
But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like top 10. Like I think this is gonna be one of those years where you're just like, damn, I feel good.
Comes together for one race the whole year.
Where you're like, you hammer the bike and you get off and you run, your legs feel a little wobbly, but then it comes back around and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a good run. Like this is all gonna come together. And that's top 10 performance. It's one of those things where you have to have that day, but
yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for.
It's got to be that day. Yeah.
Matt put more pressure than I did.
I know he did. Yeah.
Did you feel the pressure increase?
Yes, it just cranked it up.
Jake's gonna crank it up even more. I don't like this.
I'm gonna say under as well, and I'm gonna say it's because your bike is gonna be really good, and it's gonna be better than you're gonna anticipate because you've been out riding with the boys, and they've been putting it to you.
Yes.
So if you've been running solid and your swim, you've been saying that your swim is good or better than it's been.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's gonna go under on you. So. No pressure.
This is I'll tell you what, if I come back and I put down the bike split that I want to, I have a big round of whatever on me, dinner/beers on me for every dialed guy who has been dropping me and hurting me for the last 2 months. So Lance included in that.
Dibs on Lance's beer.
Yes, I was going to say Lance's beer goes to Jake.
I'll split it with you, Matt.
No, Matt quit drinking beer this morning.
Yes.
He said that.
Yeah. This is Matt's pedal.
I haven't had a drink in almost an hour, so
this is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just definitely taken I've taken a little bit of time off of drinking, and it's so ridiculous. Like my weight has dropped probably like 5 pounds.
Just
boom. And it's just not drinking. It's like just not drinking, and it's like it's probably more than 5 pounds. It's like probably like 6 or 7 pounds.
So you lost 6 pounds?
You're looking leaner right now.
I haven't done anything except for not drinking. I'm not even training. Like I'm not. It's really bad.
Oh.
So what goal did you set for yourself, Matt?
Weight wise?
No. What race goal did you
So on the last podcast, I was fiddling with my phone while Jake was rambling on, and I signed up for Ironman Canada.
Uh-huh.
And that is going to require me to be trim because it is going to be a lot of climbing. So that's going to be the.
Did you say 9,000 feet of climbing in that 112-mile
I may
ride?
need to get air checked on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 9.
Well, so here's what Ironman does. They love to do this. They love to like go have whatever course, whatever it is, and they'll say, it's not that bad. It's not that there's. If you read the description, it's like there's some hills and then there's some flat sections. That's what they like to call.
And then there's some downhills.
And then they'll be like, it'll be like 9,000 feet of climbing or whatever, and they'll be like, it's only 7,000 feet of climbing. I mean, this is they will chop off elevation. And so if you go see, everyone else is going to go ride the course, and there's so much data out there for the exact elevation. Like an Ironman is just like, nope, it's 7,000. They will boldly lie, and I think they do that. I mean, obviously they want people to sign up for it. So
yeah.
I wish they would just come up with some race course. I mean, really, Ironman Canada's it, but I wish they would just come up with some brutally hard course and be honest about their, like, if you're going to sign up for this, it's going to be hard.
Right. And I think they could be attracted to do something like that because there are races like Alaska Man. We had one of our friends do that recently.
Alpe d'Huez Triathlon.
The Alpe d'Huez Triathlon. There's the Norseman Triathlon, which is like the big, that's the one I think of when I think of
those
these.
Get big numbers. They do.
They do well in their lottery. They sell out really quickly, and that's what Ironman's all about. So they are for profit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. You know, so I will also be racing this with Matt, and I can promise you that I'm going to set a PR in my Ironman.
Oh, because you've never
I've never done one before.
I
am setting that bar super low.
All right. Anything else you're looking forward to this weekend? This coming week?
So pretty soon here, and I'll be talking about this in the future, myself and my Edge Cycling Technologies buddies will be going to Reno, Nevada for the Interbike Conference.
Cool.
So we will talk about that in the future.
Do you know dates on that?
That is the week of September 15th.
Okay. Yep. That's soon.
Coming up.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. But yeah, that's my forward pedal. Is that what we're calling this?
Yeah, just
pedal. It's just pedal.
If you just forward.
Normal pedal.
Normal pedal. We're just pedaling here.
Lance, pedal this thing.
Next week, I am taking my youngest daughter to college to drop her off. So that's where I'll be for the first couple days.
Are you gonna have room to fit her in the car with all those bikes, or what?
Well, she's taking her own car,
Okay,
so
good.
I get to take my own truck with my own bikes.
Good.
So me and my wife are gonna drive her down there and just help her get in. I don't know, just
so give us an idea about moving in, because I grew up with myself and a brother, so I've seen how young men move into college apartments. How does a female move into a college apartment?
It's a whole different ball game. Everything's frilly and organized, right?
Oh boy,
yeah, it's not like
U-Haul worth of stuff too.
when we took our son, we just packed up his stuff in the car and said, "See ya."
Yep.
Go figure it out. But we're like hand delivering Darby to Washington State in Pullman, so I'm not exactly sure.
Dorm room sponsored by Bed Bath & Beyond?
It's something like that. I know there's this sack full of stuff. There's a whole car full of stuff that's going with her. So
I don't think I've ever been to Pullman. How's the cycling there? You gonna get out for?
It's in the Palouse region of eastern Washington. It's right on the border of Idaho, and so there's lots of rolling hills.
Yeah.
No real big climbs, but lots of rolling hills. There are no there's no bike lanes. There's no shoulders.
Oh, boy.
So it's a little.
Can you drive somewhere and find some place?
Yeah, there's a couple of bike paths.
Right.
Dedicated bike. Actually, there's only one. So it's a 7-mile section. So how many times can you do a 7-mile section out and back?
10.
You can do it a lot of times. So I may ride once or twice while I'm out there.
Oh, come on.
man.
Well,
Per day. He's talking about per day.
Per day. Okay, that makes more sense.
We're driving a full day, and then we're moving her in, and then we're driving back the next day. So
if you think of it this way, if she's upstairs too, that's
that's right.
How much feet of elevation gain is that going to be? That's
Here's
going to be at
what
least
you do.
3,000 of elevation gain.
When you go to the U-Haul, pick one small thing, carry it upstairs, go back downstairs, get one small thing, and tell the girls you're doing all of the unpacking.
I'm doing the work.
I'm doing all the
Ride
unpacking.
your bike to and from the apartment.
Right.
It's like, it was a 40-mile ride.
How about in the spirit of the over-under that we did for Evan, how about we do the over-under of Strava KOMs that Lance takes out there, because they are rolling
that's
hills.
true.
Lance is fit, and he's got his
Very
big watts
fit.
per kilo that he loves to attack those rolling hills.
Yeah.
How many, boys? How many?
Okay.
I'm going to say 7.
7?
And that's pretty light, because
could be,
if he's only going to do a couple rides.
I'll go 8 because we're going over-under rules
Okay.
here. So I'll go 8.
So we're going to set the over-under at 8?
Yeah. Let's set it at 8.
Okay, so over-under, Matt on
Sure,
8.
Under.
Under?
I'm going to say over then.
Oh.
I think he'll
I'm
go on
saying-
2 rides and grab all of them.
I'm saying way under, because a couple weeks ago I was out there and I took a stab at a few and I did not get very many.
Uh-oh. Insider information.
He's a weak
It
fitter.
needs to be windy.
He's a weak fitter.
I'll take even money on that one. So
All right.
And then when I get back from Pullman, I'm flying to Vegas the very next day for like 5 days.
Man.
So I'm.
This is nice. I mean, do you remember when we talked? I forget what was it. The first time we did South Rim, where you like had actually said, "Oh, I actually rested for like a day or two before that," and you had legs that you thought you would just absolutely killing it the whole time.
I know, but I am gonna fly my bike with me to Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm going to Vegas for a very important reason. It is our fantasy football draft with my
Oh,
college.
that's
boys.
started that time of year?
That's big.
It is that time of year.
Gosh.
In the spirit of over/under, top 5 in the league for Lance. How many people are there?
There's 8.
8. Okay, 4. No. Top 3. Podium. We're treating this as a podium.
Last year, I got last place, just so you
Okay,
know. I completely tanked last year. But anyway.
For the listeners that don't know this, in previous podcasts, if you go back and you listen to them, you'll find out that if Lance loses, he potentially has to shave his legs.
Wax his legs.
Wax his legs, which is much worse than shaving.
Yeah.
It involves
Are arms included in this?
And
No arms.
No arms.
Who's the commissioner of your league?
His name's Ryan Lee. He actually has sent us in.
Okay, Ryan, I
some
know that you
pictures.
listen to this. I'm officially launching a little protest here, and we're going to petition that Lance has to wax his legs for losing last year. So
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna launch that right now.
Retroactively.
he should probably,
Retroactively.
probably show up for his, the kickoff with
with
freshly
waxing.
waxed.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're launching a
Freshly
formal complaint
waxed
that it
They
didn't
might-
happen. So let's
It's
do it.
possible they make me do it when I show up.
Yeah, the group could just have the waxing ready there prior to the draft.
They're gonna want to be there for that.
I might get held down and dry shaved if I'm not
oh
careful. I
boy.
don't know.
Sounds like
I can promise you
tough
that's not
crowd.
fun.
So I'll take my bike with me and I'll do a few rides out there, I think, in the stupid heat. So Vegas, there's only a few decent rides in the Vegas area, and I've done most of them. So, but we'll go back and do some fun.
Good. Is that it?
That's it. Unless you want to hear about a short back pedal.
Yeah, we do.
Short back pedal.
So I rode this morning with Dr. Myers, Michael Myers, just the two of us, and it was a 4-hour hammer fest.
That's awesome.
It was
God, you two are fit right now.
It was just the two of us, and we hurt each other.
What time did you get started?
A lot.
So-
we left at 6
Okay.
a.m. Yeah.
So after nationals here, we need you, me, Mike Myers. I went with David Goodman, and Kim to Savi,
Yeah, let's hear about
and John Myers. But we need to bring Lance and Mike to this next one because you guys.
I don't ride on Sunday.
I know. Can
And
we make it a
Sunday.
Saturday Savi? We could just make it a team
We
Savi
could make
shootout.
a Team Savi shootout. It wouldn't be the same.
David actually mentioned that, and so did John Myers. Said that would be really cool.
Well, there is a Saturday no drop ride starting on August 25th in Vancouver.
Okay.
Camas.
In Camas.
In Camas.
Yeah.
In Camas.
They're
Close.
actually they're going to do laps around Lacamas Lake.
Oh, is this what Dustin
cool.
was?
Yes.
It's actually not around Lacamas Lake, though. I thought it was when I
Well,
first
it's-
looked at it. It looked like they changed it a little bit. It's just on the north side. There's a loop that they created,
Yeah.
so they'll go by it, but they're not going to go around.
Is that
it.
like towards Battleground area almost?
Well, it's like up
No.
Ledbetter, the north
Oh, up
side,
Ledbetter. Got it, okay.
and up, and then circle back around.
Yeah, coming
so
near the airport over
so
there.
just for some background for people, this
And that'll be a
this-
Saturday ride.
Okay, I would
Yeah.
definitely jump into that. The Savi Island shootout is a ride that is so was a complete noob to this, so I'm probably not the person to be explaining this super well, but it is a very popular Portland ride.
Yep, it's a Sunday morning.
Yep.
It's a drop ride.
Oh, it is it is
Yeah.
a no mercy ride.
Yeah, which means it's between 30 and 50 people or
We
something
actually-
like that.
You leave with 30 or 50, you pick up quite a few on
Yeah.
the way over the St. John's Bridge before you get to St. John's Bridge.
It's a soft pedal for the first 10 miles, and then it's 2 laps around Savi Island at
Breakneck
full
pace.
on race
Yeah.
pace.
Yeah, for anybody here who's gone on these type of rides, it's averaging right at 28.
Yeah, 28 miles an hour for 2 laps, and the laps are
It's about 25 miles total. I think
yeah.
a little bit over 25 miles total. I think.
That's crazy.
It is beastly.
Yeah,
I've
so
done
much
it.
fun.
I've done it a couple
So much
times
fun.
before they switched it to Sunday.
Okay.
They started on Saturday and decided Sunday was a better day for it, and I
Yeah.
haven't been able to go back since it was on Sunday.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it is brutal.
Yeah.
it is.
It is good race practice.
Oh my God, yeah. If anybody wants to like get ready for road season, that's the ride right there.
That's a good place to go cut your teeth on like riding in group, the group dynamics that happen in a race type of situation, riding in packs, and you know, just how that whole thing unfolds. If you want to learn about racing and you're not really wanting to go do a race per se right away, that's a good place to go learn. So there's good people out there that will help show you the ropes too.
How a fast pace line works, how
you break,
how people attack, how you try to pull back the attacks, all the stuff you'd see in a race, you see in the Savi shootout.
And this is where I'm sure Jake, I know, has been on this ride too. Getting off the front there, you had to be going 30 plus to get off the front. That was, it's a fun group though, absolutely. Good pace lining too.
I've, just so you know, I've been dropped every time I've done it.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be dropped now.
Made it. I've never made it to the final sprint, but that was a year ago.
Yeah, you'd be there.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yep.
So as you heard Lance just say, he's going to be out of town. He'll be in Pullman, so that's why Lance will not be here for our normal sit-down recording time. So that's part two.
Let's hear why Jake will not be there.
Well, actually, we'll save me for last. Let's get to Matt.
I don't have anything that I can really talk about. I'm going up to Mount Hood, and I'm going to do some fun stuff. Probably bring a gravel bike and hopefully do some swimming up on there's a lake up there, and then depending on how the cats are doing, maybe I'll do a little bit of light running, but I'll definitely do some filming. I'll bring some camera gear and stuff like that, and do some fun stuff that way. So
are you doing anything, are you going up there for any other reason than just to go up there, or do you have something planned? Or
nothing I can really talk about.
Sorry. We'll teaser.
Well,
it's important.
We'll move on.
I guess the stuff I can talk about is let's see, I guess we have.
I'm gonna do some camera with you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna. I'm Jake and I are like into cameras. Like we like taking photos of stuff. Like totally getting dorked up on all the camera gear. So I'm hoping to bring some camera stuff and take as many photos as possible, and hopefully make a video of some sort. So
good.
Yeah. So I won't be here on that Monday for the podcast that we normally do on Monday. But Jake, the real question is, how are you doing?
I'm kind of beat right now, to be honest with you, but I'm going in for surgery in a couple days, and just kind of battening down the hatches and getting ready for that. I've got my 3 S's coming up, the surgery, and then a short sleep, and then lots of suffering. So, and that's all in the spirit of getting healthy and better. So I had all my pre-op appointments done, all my lab work's done, and went and met with physical therapy and got my sling immobilizer thing fit, and just getting ready to have the surgery done so that I can actually start getting better. So, I mean, we're over 9 weeks into this whole thing now, and I've got surgery with another 6 weeks of immobilizer, and then I don't know, gosh, how many months would you say of physical therapy? How many weeks of physical therapy, Evan?
It's going to be close to 6 months, I would say.
Yeah, so...
you're a quick healer, though. You showed that early.
That's what everybody keeps saying, but
I know.
we are 9 weeks into this thing, and I'm still over here squirming because my shoulder's just killing me, so... Anyway, there's not too much for me to forward pedal. That's just going to be me sitting in a recliner. And
Yeah. So if podcasts are coming out slower or whatever, our listeners or expectations or whatever they are, I think people hopefully can understand that some of us are suffering. Some of us are suffering.
It's going to be my goal, though, to make us stay on track, with the exception of this coming Monday, just because we all got different things going on, and it's summertime, and you guys are all doing fun things, and I'll offset that. And we'll do our best to stay on track. But if it does slip up, we'll let you know, and we'll make sure to try and stay on track as best as possible. So, anything else, guys? No.
We should start a countdown to Jake getting all of his KOMs back right after the surgery. I'm going to come over the timetable
I wonder if you have you even lost any KOMs since in the past 9
get
weeks?
Notifications all the time.
There's one that I've got to grab from you. It's the Lake Road one, but I'm not sure if I can. I looked at his time. I'm like, I'm not even sure if that's possible. That was I don't know what he was on that day, but
it was a car. He was on a car.
I was actually talking with Michael Myers because I got a little you lost your KOM to Michael Myers just a few days ago, and I was like congratulating him on that. He called me just to check in and whatnot, and he was super apologetic. He's like, totally didn't mean to do that to you, and it's my policy that I don't do that to people that are teammates. I'm like, no, man, go take it. You know why? I tell people, go take all of them, because when I go out and train, that's a carrot for me. I don't need a big trophy case of all these KOMs. I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's fun to have them, but I'll go back and chase them.
Pushing,
exactly. So I'll build that into an interval set or a training routine, and I'll try and take it back. And if I do, then great. We're just making each other stronger and faster. So don't hold back.
My goal is to snag one of Jake's, KOM at some point.
We're gonna have to.
It's like a life. That's like a life goal.
That's a life goal.
It's a life goal.
So. Anyway, let's get into our little roundtable discussion here. We are going to talk about the newbie cyclist, the rookie cyclist, triathletes that are green, people that are new to both sports, and ways that we can help you guys kind of just learn the ropes, whether it be mic maintenance or like talking about stuff that's physiologically applicable to gear and things of that nature. So we're just going to run around the table here, and we're going to talk about some stuff that we personally think would benefit you if you're a newbie cyclist. If you are somebody who has been around the block quite a few times and you hear something that we miss, we would love for you to reach out and ping us on Facebook. And this is kind of a part of us just giving back to the community and really helping everybody get on the same page and sharing information. So ping us on the old book face at Dial Podcast. Shoot us emails, any one of our first names at Dial Podcast or info at Dial Podcast. And let us know what you think. Let us know if we forgot something or elaborate. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get this thing started. Evan, why don't you start?
We'll start with the youngest at the table. How about that?
Okay.
There you go. So one of my biggest things, I think, especially, and I'll talk about the triathletes, but this also goes straight into cycling too, is cycling is so, I like the heyday of indoor cycling. It's good, solid, interval training kind of teaches you the idea behind some of these adaptations as you get faster. But I really think getting into groups and learning how to bump elbows with people, stay on the bike comfortably, grab your water bottles is a big thing. I think being able to grab, so I'll make mine kind of the talking on just purely bike handling here.
Okay.
Is being able to grab the water bottle with both hands very comfortably in a group. Because there will be times where it's probably a better idea to maybe grab with your left hand if you're used to grabbing with your right hand. Mm-hmm. And being able to drink while keeping the bike nice and steady, because we've all been
holding your line.
Yes, we've all been behind that guy, and I've even been that guy when you get tired and you go to reach that bottle, and you're squirrely. Yeah, you're squirrely all of a sudden, and you lose speed because you're focusing on the water. But getting comfortable with that will make the ride, especially in groups, much more enjoyable. But you got to get out there and just ride with the groups. That's the one thing that cycling is so different than triathlon, is that you got to learn that bike handling, and I wish more triathletes would take that seriously and really say, this year I'm going to go on some local bike rides once a week. That's it. You don't need to be doing it every single day, but just once a week at least.
Let's elaborate real quick on that, the water bottle grabbing.
Yeah.
So if you think about this, if you grab with one hand and you're drinking with said hand and you're new and you're not comfortable with having both hands off the wheel, which you probably shouldn't have off anyway, think about what hand is still on the bars. And if for some reason you have to grab the brakes in a pinch, if your left hand is on the bar, which brake are you grabbing?
Yep.
You don't want to go flying over the bars, so think about that kind of stuff. You want to think about that, and you want to make sure that you look down the road. And if you see something coming up, if you see a turn, or you see something that could cause the rest of the group to slow down, and that's probably not the best time for you to be grabbing that bottle. So think about making yourself be predictable. You don't want to take that water bottle and oh crap, all of a sudden I've got to do all these things and I'll have one hand on the bars. But think about what's coming up and just pick the right time and make sure that you know which hand's on the bars and which brake does which. Some of you crazy people out there who switch the brakes around, there are some of you out there that they come from a motocross background, they'll the front brake will be where the rear brake is. They'll actually switch that stuff up. So I don't want to say that everybody their front brake is the left and the rear brake is the right, but just think about that kind of stuff. Or if you have to be in a situation where you need to be shifting gears. And then here's another thing: those bottles don't cost very much money. If for some reason you need to get your hands back on the bar, don't
toss a bottle.
Just toss the bottle. You can always circle back and get it if you have to, but it's not the end of the world if that bottle doesn't find its way back in the cage. And if you do toss it, throw it out of the way of everybody so that nobody runs it over.
Yeah,
so, sorry.
Definitely.
Definitely. I will say that a lot of times, most of the time triathletes are on time trial bikes or triathlon bikes, and those are significantly squirrelier than a road bike. So it's harder to grab a bottle in a group. Then again, if you're on time trial bike, you might have a water bottle or hydration
arrow bottle.
system or an arrow bottle or something. But
I think
that's just as squirrely to get down to those arrow bottles sometimes, though. Yeah,
it's a more aggressive position. You're leaning way over the bike. I don't really feel as comfortable sitting up and going without hands on those time trial bikes.
Yeah, neither do I.
But on a road bike, it's like the bike just handles so much better. So
just more balanced. Yeah,
it's definitely.
Yeah, and this is, I think, also where we get into, newbie triathlete world. If you have a road bike, it is a good idea to ride that. I think we got into this era where it's like, if you're a triathlete, you can only always ride the triathlon bike. The thing with the triathlon time trial position is you actually put out more power on the road bike. So if we're talking about you developing as an early cyclist, getting time in on the road bike, I think is great, which is why having a local team that you ride with as a triathlete is not something you should be scared of. It's actually going to make you a better cyclist.
I'm guessing I wouldn't say all the professional triathletes, but I'm guessing that there's a good solid percentage that spend more than half their time on road bikes.
Absolutely.
It's hard to say because I know a lot of them are doing a lot of indoor riding now, but I'm just thinking to myself, like, I bet you off the
top of my head, Cameron Wharf, the Cannondale cycling pro, who now is like the best bike split in triathlon, said he spends more than 90% of his time on his road bike.
90%, yeah.
Yep.
But a lot of newbie triathletes aren't going to have both types of bikes.
That's true. That is true.
So
yeah.
Well, and a lot of newbie triathletes are going to have a road bike with clip-on aero bars, which should handle pretty decently.
It should handle pretty decently.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
absolutely.
Don't let people make fun of your clip-on aero bars.
No.
They're fine.
Rock
those things are great because honestly, like, I mean, they work.
Yeah.
You're cutting some serious time off your bike split just by dropping those clip-ons in there.
Definitely. So. Also, get comfortable with reaching into your back pocket for nutrition. Since we're talking about water bottles, if you got to go for that gel, make sure you're okay with a little bit of a twist while you're riding.
This morning, I'm riding with Michael Myers, and Michael rode a century. I rode like 86 miles. We averaged almost 21 miles an hour for all that, with some climbing. And there was a section where I needed some nutrition.
And Mike was not going to let you just go and grab it easy.
So I pulled ahead of Mike and reached in my back pocket and grabbed my, the nutrition. I was the Scratch Labs, the little gel things.
The chews?
Yeah, the chews, which I really like. And as soon as I did that, Michael's like, let me go to the front and you can sit in my draft while you take a nutrition. And of course, he almost dropped me because I was fading.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you got to learn to do that stuff.
Breathe in between bites.
Yes.
Breathe in between bites.
And get that stuff down. So,
yep.
Anything else you can think of on that topic in terms of just the bike handling stuff?
Well, I was going to say in terms of the nutrition, but it goes with the bike handling. If you're going to take in the water nutrition, I always think it's a better idea to take it in an area where your heart rate's a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, bike handling's a little bit easier when you're not at 180 beats a minute, you're at 130 or 40.
Yeah. But then again, if your heart rate is lower because you're bombing down a hill, that's probably not the best time
that
to
is
be
true.
doing it.
Yes.
So.
Let's think about terrain there. If you're hitting turns, you're like, oh, my heart rate's 120. This is a perfect time to.
I used to always eat on the hills, which is weird, but I always found it easier.
I used to always eat on descents, to be honest, which I should not say that on this, but I'll sit tucked in and just suck down my little gel there.
Well, in an Ironman event, you want to kind of keep your watts a little bit even, so the hills are going to feel really easy.
Yes. Yeah.
For a while.
Compared to road cycling, definitely.
Yeah. So
if you're keeping those watts even and you're going uphill, you're just not going as fast. So yes, that's probably a very safe place to be doing that.
Yeah. It seems like you can breathe and eat, and that's important.
And you can also just like do a season across. There's your bike handling. There you go.
That's true.
Show up to the Wednesday cross.
Those are coming up. Those are coming up.
Lance, what you got on this, man?
I think it'd be good to cover like pre-ride bike maintenance things that you should do and post-ride bike maintenance things that you should do. Mm-hmm. So what are one of the things I always do before I go out is I always check the pressure on my tires, and I generally have to pump them up a little bit. What kind of tire pressure do you guys run on a road bike?
Good question.
Racer training.
No, and it definitely depends on. Okay, training. It depends, like if I'm going training with Jake or something like that, then I sometimes make sure I have a little extra tire pressure because I want that little extra edge to be able to keep up with him as long as possible. If I'm just taking the training bike and I'm going easy by myself and stuff like that, usually I'll pinch it, and if it doesn't feel, too soft, I'll roll with it, because, and that could be even under 80 psi, so I don't mind rolling, something a little bit lower as long as it's not going to bottom out. But
so the lower air pressure you have, the more risk of a pinch flat if you hit something in the road or a pothole or something like that.
You have to be running pretty. It depends too on it's going to depend on like the tire width and the rim width and things like that too. Yeah. But I think it will. I would say. I don't think you're going to get. I don't know. I'm probably going to eat my own words, but like I think if you're running 80 psi, you're not going to. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe we could pinch flat still. Yeah. I think it's all about like what you hit and how hard you hit it.
Well, there's a big difference if you're running a 23 mil tire or if you're running a 28 mil tire with 80 psi. So you have to kind of weigh in, like you said, what tire you're running.
I ride 25 mil tires on my road bike, and I always pump them up to 90 or
Yeah,
that's
that's about right. Which I think is perfect, right?
God, I'm going to be the outlier here. I train on 110.
So super uncomfortable.
What tire width are you riding though?
23.
23. So the 23s, you generally are going to run a little bit more PSI. So that's like if you were to compare the two, comparatively speaking, you're probably not too far off.
No,
just a skosh
actually
more PSI.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
And then I'll usually race on 120. Yeah. Me and Matt were just talking about this.
I do want to make a video about this where we talk about like optimal tire pressure, because there have been some people that have done some research. So because it almost looks like rolling resistance decreases. There's an exponential trade-off, but it's like it almost decreases with increase in tire pressure. So if you have tire pressure of 30, like there's more tire contact to the ground, and it's lower, it's higher rolling resistance.
Mm-hmm. So it's slower.
Yes.
It's interesting because then there's another study that's like, well, we looked at some other things and we think that at a certain point when you're at 140 psi or whatever it is, when you hit something, like let's say there's a rock or pebble or something in the road, and granted, like this is happening all the time with chip sealed roads and whatever you have, but the bike can't dimple and roll forward through it. It has to hit that dimple or rock or whatever and go up. So that's significantly harder. And so there's one group of people that are saying like, yeah, I mean, if you roll this tire on a drum and you increase the tire pressure, it's just going to be faster. But we don't ride on these like smooth barrel drums. We ride on like chip seal roads and all kinds of other things. And so there's something to that. And I do want to make a video about it, and I will probably give recommendations like, and they're going to actually depend on your weight too, right? Like you weigh, Evan weighs $1.25.
A little bit light there. Yeah.
he can hit a certain tire pressure, and someone that's heavier may need a different tire pressure. So
when I was 210, if I rolled at 80 psi, if I rolled at 80 psi, I got pinch flats.
Yep.
Yeah. So I had to pump it up to 110 or something.
And now Lance weighs 135, 145 now.
I'm like 175 now.
You can see close. You can see a pretty good example of what Matt's talking about when you kind of take that into the mountain biking world and you start looking at the guys who are rolling with really low rolling resistance, and they want to get as low as they possibly can without the tire rolling off the bead or bottoming out and hitting the wheel. So it's just kind of compliancy is what they're calling it. So it's absorbing a lot of what the road or the terrain has in store for them, and they're rolling over that stuff faster as opposed to
or almost through it.
Exactly, as opposed to bouncing up and down and losing contact, which you're wasting watts, you're wasting your forward motion, and it's slowing you down.
So it'd be interesting if we can find out there if there's good research that there's a weight to PSI ratio that's going to allow you the most contact over a chip seal road to continue, so that when you're putting out those watts, it's not in midair. You're not bouncing up off of the chip seal. But you're not but you're not increasing the width of that contact too far to where you're actually increasing your rolling resistance too much.
My gut feeling is for triathlon, it's probably pretty high, 110.
My guess is going to be 120.
Somewhere in that range is my guess.
I've met guys who will race 130, I was in transition once at Nationals. I had this kid next to me. He swore, and on the side of this kid's actually a professional now, so whatever he was doing was working well for him. He swore by racing at 140 every single time.
I worry
Lean
about
kick,
like
You
low
blow
kick.
a tire in
That's
transition,
exactly
pumping
what
it
I
up.
was thinking.
Well, not only that, there's that, and then there's like the if the weather, if the temperature goes up, a lot of these races you're setting up your bike early in the morning, and then you're racing. You do your swim or whatever. The race finally goes off.
Could you
you've done the
imagine
warm-up,
that?
And it's 20 degrees warmer.
Like a shotgun in there.
and you just and I've heard that where you just hear in transition, you just hear this, pop, almost like pop.
So, in the spirit of the noob listening to this, or somebody that's just kind of
going down the rabbit hole again.
Don't crank it up to 140
Yeah.
noobs.
Well, pay attention to your weight. Pay attention to the tire selection that you have selected and you have on your bike, and take a look at the terrain that you're going to ride on. There's going to be a happy medium there. So,
Yes.
I mean, if you're a little bit heavier, you're going to have to roll with a little bit more tire pressure. If you've got a little bit wider tire, you can back off of that just a skosh. And if you're going to be riding on a really crappy road, you might want to have a little bit more compliance in your tire so that your tire can roll over that smoother. So you might want to just back off just a touch more, but not too much to where you're going to pinch flat. So it's going to be happy medium. I hate to say Google this, but it really is going to break down.
If we had to give a range for PSIs that are safe to be in for a newbie, if you're riding around Vancouver,
if you're new, and
what range should they stay in?
And you're on the roads and you aim for like 95, and then you say, I'm just chilling today, and I'd rather like have a nice plush feel, like drop it 10 or something like that. And if you're like, hey, I'm riding with Jake and I need to be able to hang on as long as possible, go up 5 or 10. Yeah. I think that's safe.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I would say 90 to 100 if your training is a safe range.
Yeah.
And you can't be wrong in that range.
Let's assume that the vast majority of people are rolling on a 25 millimeter tire, because that's kind of like the standard, if you will, right now.
Standard?
So
I think 23 still might be the standard.
No.
I know it's going up. I know
it's
going
changed
up
quite a bit.
I'll trust Jake on that one,
but no, I like to play devil's advocate.
I disagree with you, Matt.
You are wrong.
You are wrong. No, I think you're
wrong, Colonel Sanders.
We're amongst a group that's talking about new cycling, that's paying attention to cycling trends and things like that. Whereas the noob that grabs the used bike on Craigslist, or even like the sub $1,000 bike and goes out riding, I bet you they're on 23s.
Yeah, there might be 23s on those.
They're out there. I'm just basing it off of all of the bikes that I see on a pretty consistent basis, and the tires that I'm helping people get into. Now, granted, I know that there's most of the people that I'm probably dealing with are a little bit more than just your noob. They're more
you're dealing with a lot of
a basic
cyclists.
enthusiast. Yeah. But I'd say on the whole, though, if you look at collectively on the whole, I'd say more people are on 25s and 23s these days. That's just my professional opinion, for what it's worth, which ain't much.
I would not say that.
Well, that's not true. Yeah.
So,
all right, let's move to the next topic, which is, what do you do post ride? What bike maintenance thing should you do after your ride?
Well, can we go back for 1 second? Because
no.
Okay, never mind. Move on. I just wanted to mention a couple things for new cyclists. Like, check your brakes, make sure that they're where you want them, and things like that before every ride. We talked about tire pressure, which was a huge like
that was going to be.
We dove off.
We knew that was going to be.
We dove off the deep end on that one for sure. Sorry about that. Check your tires. Probably pump them up almost every ride, and then I would say check your brakes.
Yes.
Make sure things are functional.
Also, check your shifting, because we have a person at this table who just popped the cap off of his front derailleur cable. So
I'd take a look at your tires too. That's another thing. I know we just went into this, but just put your bike where you can like spin around and see if there's any slits in there, or if you've got some like glass or some sort of wire that might be hiding in there that you can see to the naked eye, or if you're starting to see a little bit of the cracking that you would see from like it being a little weathered or just over in general used. You don't want to go out and get into a situation where you have a high-speed blowout, or you just don't want to be out there and be getting like flats left
and right. 7 miles into your bike ride and your bike ride's over basically.
Yeah.
I've got a story here. Last Saturday, I was riding with some of the Dialed team, and Dustin Shotkin was along with us, who is not on our team, but he is a very strong, solid,
super strong
3-year Cat 2.
Cat 2 road racer,
Cat 2 road racer.
Cat 1 track guy, right?
Yeah.
And he was on his bike. The ride we did was, I don't know, 60 miles or something like that, but it had a 3-mile gravel section.
Mm-hmm.
We got to the gravel section, and the gravel was much rougher than we expected. And we're all on our road bikes. We're all on 25 mil tires. But halfway through the gravel section, Dustin pinch flatted.
Yeah.
And so, and And as he was fixing the flat, we realized that part of the bead on the tire had torn off,
blown off.
Oh, jeez.
but it still sealed, and so and he was able to fix it and repair it. And I think back on this was a little ridiculous, but he fixed it. We rode to the top of the climb, and then Dustin and I proceeded to bomb the descent.
I like that. I do like that descent because I think I know where you were. But
yeah, so we're up at the top of Larch in Washington,
right
near the Larch Corrections Facility out by the prison.
Yeah,
and we bombed this descent, and me and Dustin just got away from everybody else, and we averaged like 42 miles an hour or something on this descent. We really bombed it hard, and it wasn't long after that when his tire blew again.
Oh,
and I think and it was because the bead released because the bead was ruined on the tire. No, and I think back on it, oh my gosh, we bombed that descent.
If that had happened
with
on the descent,
questionable tire. We should have been smarter about that.
Yeah.
I would advise against that.
Yeah,
green cyclists, don't do that, please.
Err on the side of caution in that situation, but I'm glad nothing happened.
No, nothing happened, but it was. I'm an idiot. I'll just say
pre-ride. Check your tires, folks. Check your tires.
And the other thing is, if you do go out and get a flat, always when you get back, make sure that you restock your saddlebag.
Yes.
Chances are you don't want to roll out there and all of a sudden like, oh crap, I forgot to swap out this used CO2 cartridge, and I don't have a tube in there. So. And put extra things in your saddlebag as well, like a boot. Basically, what a boot is if you get like a slit in your tire, you can put the boot in there, and that will keep the tube from poking out, and it will allow you to get home. And I would even suggest to put like an inexpensive little patch kit that you can hide in there, because we've all been there at one point in time. You'll go through all of your tubes, you'll go through everything, and then next thing you know, you're like, I've got nothing left. Except for this little patch kit now, and hopefully that'll get me home.
Bring a cell phone too, in case the worst. Never ride without your cell phone.
I've made the call of shame several times.
So have I. Yes, so have I.
So and then get your bike serviced consistently, and if you're not sure how to do that process or go through that process, make sure that you have somebody take a look at it. A couple times a year if you're if you're out riding a lot, a couple times a year is sufficient. So, all right, sorry.
Okay. Yes. Post-ride, new people.
Can we move to post-ride? Are we allowed to move to post-ride?
Yes,
let's do it.
I'll allow it. I will allow it. I would. Yeah. No. I just think. I think people should. I don't think that people have to like clean their bike chain every single ride, but I want new cyclists to know how to do it and not fear like
messing with the bike chain.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a lot of things like that where it's like the basic maintenance. I think it's important. I mean. I almost think like every cyclist is a bit of a mechanic, right? Like the more you spend time on the bike, the more you need to know how it works and how like you can, if you get stranded, like you were saying, like how can I get home, right? Like, and I don't, I'm sitting here with Jake, and I don't want to say like don't use a mechanic ever, like like no. I mean, when you need one, go for it, absolutely, but don't feel like you should have your mechanic do like your chain cleaning or whatever, because that's not realistic. I mean. I know people that do that, and I think it's fair for you to do a little bit of work on your bike. So wipe your chain down after each ride is a great idea, because you can, I think you can just pull off a lot of gunk at that point. And then maybe once every couple rides, go over it. Like we were talking about, like how often you should use like degreaser on your chain. And I don't know. I think it probably depends on like time of year and a lot of other things, how gunked up your chain gets. And then sometimes I go through phases where I love to have like a clean drivetrain, and then I get to another point where I'm like, oh, I'm busy and I don't care, and I'm just gonna ride around. But I think being able to roll over the chain, clean that up, and then use some sort of bike lubricant. And if your chain is super squeaky, that might be one of those situations where you're not really taking great care of it. Jake mentioned
some lube.
Yeah. Just bike lubricant. You need to own it if you own a bike, probably.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Post ride other stuff that You know, for me, and I think I've talked about this with Jake before too, where it's like I have so much electronics and stupid stuff now that I
plug it all in.
I literally like take all of that off the bike, plug it in. I have a little USB charging station next to my bike, like in the garage, and I plug everything in.
Yeah, well,
I feel a little bit sad saying that, but like
but that's actually a very good point. You should have that little station there because every cyclist should have a rear flashing light.
Right.
Yep.
Just you should, and you should have a headlight. You don't have to use the little flashy headlight every single time, but trust me, from previous experiences now, having that little flashy light could be the difference between somebody seeing you and not seeing you. Right. And I've been through the situation where they didn't see you.
Yeah.
I didn't have a headlight on my bike that day. Granted, it was sunny out, but I've thought in the back of my head a few times, like, well, what if I did have that light on, and what if it was flashing, and maybe that caught that person's eye, and all of a sudden they didn't make that left-hand turn right in front of us. Yeah. Could that have changed the outcome of this situation? So I'm going to err on the side of caution moving forward, and that light's going to be on my bike, and I won't race with it, but it'll be on my bike because I'm going to take that extra precaution now. But you should have those two things, in my personal and professional opinion, and those two things need to be charged. And more than likely, they have a USB rechargeable deal on them, and having a little charging station in your garage or wherever you keep your bike near your bike, so that once you get off the bike, you can just go plug it right in. You know, you can charge up your light, your rear view light, your Garmin, and whatever myriad of things that you have going on, whether it be a power meter or what do you know, your little jam beatbox that you put in your bike or something. I don't know.
Your iPod.
Because we don't use headphones, right? But the whole gamut of things you can plug in right there, and that's a good point, Matt. So, and you want those things to be charged up for you because when you go ride,
your next ride,
you want them ready.
Yeah.
Now that I'm part of the DI2 shifting group, you know, I take this responsibility now. I need to charge this stuff, and now I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna go home and charge that right before nationals because I don't think I've charged it since I got it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how long those batteries last. But before big races, I always charge up.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
You forget, you don't know. This morning,
you always hear about that in like big races. You'll hear like, I mean, I've heard of pros in triathlon fields who, I mean, how does that slip through the cracks that you're not charging
because a lot, I mean, like,
because they last for 6 months.
6 months.
That's true.
Like,
I'm just gonna make it at least once a month. I'm charging that thing at the very least.
Depends on how much you're using it, but you know, you'll be amazed at it. You know, if you want to let it go sometime, you'll be amazed at how long it can go.
Oh wow.
And the consequences aren't that bad because what happens is the front shifting stops.
Yeah.
And you can easily get home. So
yeah.
Once a month and before big races is my my little
no, it's
deal.
definitely getting charged once I get
to
Cleveland.
I think it was like 1,500 miles you can get out of a.
So that's like
I mean,
2 weeks for Lance.
How much you
3
shift.
weeks for Lance.
yeah. Charge it on the daily.
Yeah.
What else? What other post ride tips, guys?
Wash your kit.
Nutrition.
How about
nutrition wise?
Get some protein into your system.
I'll be our nutrition guy.
About,
yeah.
Get out of your kit. How about get out of your
protein
kit?
and quality carbs. Yeah.
Don't wear it around. Don't wear the kit around all day.
No.
Is that permission to be naked?
Do you guys?
Lance, is there does anyone know Lance no pants?
Yeah.
No pants Lance.
No pants Lance.
Do bibs count as pants? Are bibs pants?
No.
No. What do they go into? Are they underwear? What are they? There's pants and there's underwear. There's only those two groups. I think it's underwear personally.
Yeah. Undergarment.
Undergarment.
I think, Lance, you're safe to show up to the podcast no pants because you rode this morning and you got to get out of those things.
Get out of those things.
You cannot wear them to the podcast.
Walk around.
Do you guys dry all of your kits or do you hang dry them? Like, do you put them in the dryer or do you hang dry them?
I got an air dry function on my dryer that works pretty well.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
so much better than me.
I'm horrible. I just put them in the wash and put them in the dryer.
So do I.
So am I.
But I know it's not good for them.
I know.
And I'm like, these are so expensive. And I'm like, why am I
now, hold on. My tri-race kit, I hang dry that. I hang dry that one. There's no way that thing's sitting through the dryer.
Yeah. Well, you have a nice new one.
Yeah,
when I have a nice
new
new something,
yeah.
I usually take care of it a little bit more. But I don't know.
Yeah, we're in the dead of summer right now as we record this. Here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a whole nother season here of pretty much just rain. So post ride after the rain, that's a whole nother shooting match of just stuff you have to do. It takes forever, but you do need to pay attention to your bike. If it goes out and gets absolutely destroyed, you need to get all the gunk off of it. Probably even like hit it lightly with a hose. Just mind the bearings and whatnot. And I always recommend to people like get an air compressor and blow out all of the
Interesting.
All of the things like your chain and your headset, your bottom bracket. If you can hit that, you can hit the rear derailleur, and you can hit the cassette and all that other fun stuff, and then lube your chain after you do that as well. Otherwise, you're going to come back out to your bike. If you leave it be for a day or 2 or 3, you're going to have rust on your bike, and that's not a pretty thing. So
do you just use the little can compressor, air compressor thing?
You can. There's
other options.
I actually have an air compressor in my garage,
right?
And
So
I just hit it with that. But
nice.
That's generally my recommendation. If you don't have an air compressor, you can like take your bike and kind of bounce it on the ground a few times, and then just try and dry it off with a good clean terry cloth towel, and then make sure that all of your vital parts have been set up for the winter months. Make sure that there's plenty of grease on them so that they're not going to be exposed to the water. And then just wipe your chain down, put some lube on it, and make sure that you do that when you get home, not the next day or before your next ride, because you want to make sure that thing doesn't rust up, because that slows you down and it's not good for your parts.
Yeah.
So just a little tip there.
Pacific Northwest biking in the rain.
Yeah.
This is why I do a lot of winter indoor riding.
So on those really balmy days out where it's just dumping, and you come back and you're standing there and you're just drip, 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 drip. Where do you guys disrobe? Is it in the garage, or do you guys walk in the house?
My answer is going to be way different than everybody else's. So you guys answer this first.
If I come slopping around in the house, I'm sure I'm going to get stink eye from somebody in the house. So.
What's the requirement for you?
I have a detached garage, and I've made that walk from the garage.
So Lance no pants. Lance no pants dash.
It's funny because Lance lives like right on the 205, which it's like super. There's a lot of people that got to see Lance naked.
Lance naked.
He's doing the garage to house walk right now.
There's Lance naked again. Everybody's seen that. That's awesome.
How's your dog deal with that? Isn't your dog usually outside?
Yeah, he's usually licking the sweat off my ears.
There you go.
He loves to lick the sweat off my face.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I have a laundry room right in the so my garage goes to the laundry room basically, and so that's the stripped down spot, because then you can take all of that stuff and throw it right in the wash, which is really handy. So
I've got pretty much the same situation. I'll usually take off at least my socks though, because those things will be sopping wet.
Oh, they're disgusting.
And then here's a little pro tip, and thank you, Michael Myers. This was a gift that he gave me a few years ago. I think it was for Christmas even, and it's a shoe dryer.
Yeah,
and the thing is fantastic. So, and it does your gloves as well. So as soon as I get off the bike and my shoes are sopping wet, they go straight on that thing. Gloves have their little slots that they slide on. You turn on the heater and you put it on. I think it's like for 2 or 3 hours. And next time you come out, everything is perfectly dry. It doesn't stink, and it's very usable as opposed to it still being a little sopping wet. And there's nothing worse than stepping your feet into some shoes that are a little wet from like days before. You're like, oh, that's wrong. So
I made a video about almost all of the tips that we've talked through. Like, I don't remember when it was maybe a week or two.
This would be an awesome
a week or two ago, and it was just like 6 post-ride hacks or something like that. And I think the last one I did was like, consider making your water bottles for the next day or something like that, where it's like, then you have, then you're ready to go if you're going to bike the next day, which is nice. And I don't love to do that if I'm going to do like a sugary drink, because I feel like it settles and kind of gets gross. But if it's just water and stuff like that, I also have like a refrigerator in our garage right next to all my bike stuff. So I love having the ability to just like grab a bottle and slam it in the, I looked in the refrigerator today and I didn't have one, and I was like, dang it. But I love having that ability to just grab a bottle and go and like have things go. Because sometimes, Jake will send me a message like, I'm leaving in 5 minutes. And I'm like, awesome, let's do it. Like, well, let's go.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Those days are coming back.
Those were the days. Soon enough.
So my problem is that I also go straight for the washer. But I live in a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment. The washer is in the kitchen. So I have to get from the door to the kitchen without tracking stuff everywhere.
Copious amounts of grime.
So I will leave the bike at the front door of the apartment.
Yeah.
And then I will also kind of leave the door open so I can always hear, because it's 2 seconds in and out. I will derobe and then go straight to a towel. And then I got to carry everything sopping wet in like 6 steps. It's like I got to sprint to the washer to put it in. Yeah. It is an ordeal every single time I do it. And then also with the sugar water bottles thing, I had like my last water bottles, I just let go to heck. Like it was bad. I just don't know what I was thinking. Those things were so disgusting. I think I just gotten like normalized that. I had somebody look at those. They're like, you're going to get sick drinking those. It's terrible. So for the newbies, clean your water bottles. It's disgusting. Yeah.
The sugar does gross stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
especially noon, combination of noon and powder. Oh God.
Mm-hmm. I think that it somehow just collects in the bottom and just, I don't know if it's like mold or what,
like
but
creates an animal down there. You're like growing bacteria.
Yeah, I mean, like what does the scientists do when they're on the petri dish and they want to grow some bacteria? They're like, let's add a little sugar in there. Exactly. Let me see the noon. That'll work perfect.
Yeah,
that's going to do it. Yeah.
On that same note, talking about bacteria and growth and just disgusting stuff. Wash your gloves, please.
Yes.
Your gloves, and change out your bar tape every now and then. I've had people bring their bikes to me and say, hey, can you put some new bar tape on there? And I've like wanted to throw up a little bit in my mouth from how bad their bar tape smelled. It was so nasty. But that's one of those things. Change that out once a year and make sure you wash your gloves I'd say at least like once every 5 or 6 weeks at least. I mean, just think about how much sweat is going through those things.
I do them after every ride, honestly. They
really?
just go in the wash. Well, that's because I'm only wearing my gloves once or twice a week. It's got to be a century ride for me to wear gloves.
But put them in. Don't wash them with your kit, though, because the Velcro, if you have Velcro on your gloves, will destroy your kit. Or have a bag that you put stuff that has Velcro in it so that you don't. And this is a good thing that you want to learn, noobs. If you throw that Velcro in there with your nice new kit that you went out and spent probably way too much money on, that Velcro will tear it up and it'll look all pitted or pelted or what is it? Pilled. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Matt.
I just fasten.
That's what I do too.
That's not ironclad though, because those things can get caught on stuff and open up, or just
they do usually because I'll find it on a kit later. Like it'll be attached to a kit. Yeah.
And they make these little bags, and they're not terribly expensive that you can get to throw that kind of stuff in, or you can throw your garments inside this bag if you want to protect it from something like that. So you can kind of whichever direction you want to go.
That's a good idea.
But they're super cheap. There's like $5. Go on Amazon, you can get one of those things. We have a few of them, and they work out pretty slick. So
with how expensive kits are, that's important.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's a good idea. I feel like I don't take as good a care of my kits as I should, and they're expensive.
Yep, very. Okay, any other post-ride stuff that you guys want to toss in here? We kind of hinted a little bit on the nutrition side of things. Just eat good food. Don't come home and just dive into the pizza or whatnot. Get some good protein, get some good carbs to top off the glycogen levels, and give yourself some protein, some building blocks for rebuilding all that stuff that you just broke down, and hydrate up and top off those electrolytes so that you're ready to go out and go to battle next time. Anything else that you can think of for the rookie in terms of just getting into the sport?
Getting into the sport. Find a team.
Find a team. A club or a local group of people would be a good place too.
Yes. Yes.
If you're, a team might feel like, oh my gosh, that's a team. They go out, they race, they go hard, they go fast. That could be a little bit intimidating. Not all teams are going to be open to taking on new people, but that's a good place to start. Or a local club would be a good place too.
Yeah.
For me, telling people to ease into it and don't expect yourself to be like everybody else out there that's been doing it for even just a few months longer than you. You're not going to keep up with them. It's going to take a little bit of time. Ease into it and know that you're not going to get faster overnight. So basically, you're going to get that speed's going to come over the course of time. So.
This is where and I mean we see this in all facets of life with social media, but people are constantly comparing themselves to somebody else, whether it's comparing yourself to an Instagram model or something like that. I mean, I'm very glad I did not have to go through high school during this period. But I think as great as things like Strava are, when you're new, don't scour and become obsessed with that. Just go out, ride, enjoy the sport. Don't sit there and think like, I'm going to set myself these major goals for the first 12 months of the sport. Just learn the ropes first, that's absolutely give yourself that buffer time.
There is no such thing as instant gratification when it comes to building fitness. So.
No. Not even close.
Also, I think a lot of new people are, they're maybe scouring Strava stuff or whatever maps where they're looking at their data from, their watch or whatever they have. And they're saying, I did this ride and I only was able to hold this miles per hour on the bike.
Yes.
That's not one thing that I think you'll find when you hang out with maybe a club or a team like Evan recommended, is that maybe that's not as important a metric as you might think, because a lot of times where it's like, whatever it is, like we know like Savi Island's flat or whatever, like that's going to be a fast when you say miles
always
per hour.
Fast.
It's going to be fast.
Always fast.
But a lot of times like you go climb hills and if you hold 20 miles an hour, like Lance did this morning, like that's a hard day. So, the difference between 20 miles an hour and 28 is huge, but the truth is it's like miles per hour is not the best judgment of kind of your performance. So maybe the best tip is just like go out there, get the miles in, have fun, like don't stress about miles per hour.
This is where we go back to the, like, I think we had talked about some of the very old podcasts, like riding without data for once, running without a watch.
Right.
I mean, I've told you guys, I used to ride my road bike strictly. If I was on the road bike, it was going to be no computer, no watch.
Right.
Which is, I mean, if you're in a group, sometimes it's nice just to say, my goal is to stay with the group. I'm going to, you know, if it's a drop ride, when they go, I'm going to do my best to stay with.
Yeah.
And you track your progress by, I know Lance had mentioned earlier that he had gotten dropped on the side ride. You would track your progress this year as how long can I hang on to that ride?
Correct. Yeah.
Instead of sitting there and being like, I averaged this amount of watts. Just think, I stayed on that ride for this long.
Yeah. Hey, and that was going to be my next point, is compare you to you. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gather data. Use a platform like Strava. You know, I tell you guys all the time, I love that platform for a bunch of reasons, but don't go out there and get discouraged because you're comparing you to somebody else. Like if I went out there and tried to compare myself to Lance right now, I'm going to start crying. There'd be tears coming down my eyes because, you know, Lance Romance is flying on the bike and I'm a big giant turd right now.
Jake still has all these KOMs, by the way. Jake can look back at all of his KOMs.
That was old Jake. But, you know, compare you to you and look at your progress over the course of time. And then there'll be a day and time where you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm able to look back and see where I was at a year ago and where I'm at today. I am absolutely destroying old me, and I love this. And then you can start to create new little goals. And then there might come a point in time where you're like, you know what, I'm pretty solid at this. I'm going to go try and knock off some of these like top 10s on these segments, or I'm going to go hang with this, you know, this Savi Island shootout ride, and I'm going to stay on that. You know, that will come with time, but just in the beginning, compare you to you.
Or maybe the Lacamas shootout ride. Can we make a Lacamas shootout ride? Is that a thing?
That's what they're working on. Yeah.
Let's work on it.
Named yet?
Okay.
There's a.
We can't call it shootout. We got to come out with something else.
Yeah, they're calling it the Lacamas Hustle or the
Lacamas Hustle.
They're trying to come up with a good name.
I saw Ridey McRideface or something like that.
Ridey McRideface.
I like that.
That's what I voted for. I'm like, that is awesome. How can you pass on Ridey McRideface? So, anyhow,
That'd be good.
Anything else on that topic, you guys got that you'd like to add?
Have fun with it. Be creative with your Strava titles. Don't be a boring Strava title person. Do not be a boring Strava title person. Be like Lance. Okay.
How about seek the advice of friends on making sure that if you can't afford it, that you're fit to your bike correctly. And if you can't afford it, go get yourself fit to a bike. We've talked about that before. And then another one, find yourself a partner. You'd be amazed at how much that's going to help you stay consistent and have accountability. Yeah. So, and it's fun, you know, misery loves company, and sometimes it can be a little miserable, but when you get back, you're going to love it. And it's always a good thing to have a partner to share that with.
And for all the young men out there in their 20s, date a girl who rides bikes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
And I do have one last thing, and it's not our one last thing, but for this topic for me is put something on the calendar. If you're new to cycling, and it doesn't have to be a race, but put something on the calendar. Give yourself something to work towards. It doesn't have to be next month, but like take a look and say, all right, well, I'm going to start now, and in 6 months, I'm going to go do this whatever ride. It could be a metric century. It could be like just a 40-mile ride. It could be a full century. It could be whatever, but put it on the century and give yourself something to work up to so that you can, again, hold yourself accountable and know that you're going to have like a little payoff at the end. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this event, and I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to have a payoff, and that's going to be my stepping stone to the next thing. So just food for thought there.
It's a good idea.
I like those long-term goals. That's huge.
Yeah. All right. Again, anything else to add to this topic for the newbies? Anything that you guys want to impart?
We've covered a lot there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more out there, but
a ton more out there. Yeah.
We'll stop. I'll stop babbling on.
Yeah,
I would say so. All right, let's get into our next thing here. We're gonna do the hot seat again, boys.
Oh boy.
Kind of like we've been doing a little bit already, but let's open this up and. Lance is making one of his Lancey faces, so I'm gonna let Lance start with the hot seat here.
Okay, my question is, when should I back off?
I was so hoping it was going to be something like that.
Like mileage-wise?
Yeah. So I have a big race in 3 weeks.
Give us your plans. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I have a big race in 3 weeks. That's what I've been kind of ramping up for.
Remind us, is that the gravel grinder ride you're doing?
It's the gravel grinder ride. It's Rebecca's Private Idaho. It's in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Okay.
And it's actually a stage race. So there's 3 stages. There's a 40-mile gravel ride on Thursday. There's a 5-mile uphill gravel time trial on Friday.
Oh, God. Oh.
And then there's the 100-mile gravel stage on the Sunday, I believe.
Okay.
Awesome.
So when you're training for an Ironman, they'll say like almost 3 weeks of taper, which is a lot. It's crazy. I'm not a huge believer in these massive tapers.
I so disagree with that too.
Yeah. I'm going to suggest nothing longer for you. Long is relative, right? So nothing super long from the Thursday before the start of your event. So maybe a whole bunch of easy rides 7 days prior to the race. Okay. That's my recommendation. So when, I don't know, probably I would say like probably around that 60-mile marker, like, is that too short? Is that 60-ish?
I get to play devil's advocate here against Matt. I wonder if I see Jake's look. Jake may be playing some devil's advocate here too. So now we get to attack Matt here.
Sure,
okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I would say I think the reason that we have that long taper for Ironman is because the amount of pounding from running.
Okay.
Cycling is a very low stress musculoskeletally.
Sure.
Physiologically big stress, low musculoskeletal stress. I think what you would do would be the week before. So these next 2 weeks leading in, as much as you can, keep things turning over as much as you can, because I know you got some stuff coming up.
I do have some traveling. Yeah.
But you still keeping a turnover over a 200-mile week is still huge. I mean, that's still big. That week before, instead of 7 days easy, I would think you need at least 2 short interval rides. So like the minute to 1 to 2 minute repeated intervals.
Okay.
Like 10 by 2, 10 by like my always before time trial effort workout is 10 by 2, 3 minutes rest for an hour and a half is like always kind of that's the workout. Because you got to prime the engine before that.
A little bit, yeah.
That's a 5-mile time trial. You can't be going to that cold. Like that's
no. And well, actually, what they're doing is we're riding 20 miles, neutral out to the start.
Oh God. Okay.
And then it's the 5 mile up.
Well, that's actually good at least. So it's not just like, all right, wake up. No. Here you go.
So Evan, if I said take the 7 days prior to the race easy, I meant more like within mileage.
As in mileage, I'll agree with you.
I would probably say like at least 2 of those rides within the 7 to have some pick me up kind of stuff. And I know I've ridden with Jake so many times where it's like, racing tomorrow. You like to have like a shakeout ride.
Openers, like openers,
yeah. I mean,
usually about 20 miles, and there's about 2 to 3 decent little efforts in there just to open up the legs, and those efforts are generally speaking about a minute ish, and that's just the day before. And then setting up the week prior, it really depends on the race, and it depends on and this was going to be my question for Lance, what the last 6 to 8 weeks have looked like. We have to take that into consideration as we go into that. How much fatigue are you carrying into this? How stressed is your body right now? How are you feeling? There was a couple of weeks in there where you were putting in 300-mile weeks and you were just a machine. Your legs are crushing it and you felt like you were Superman. You're waking up every day. That's where we want you to be when we get you to that race. And we want you to be putting in, be able to put in high volume. But we don't want to miss that window, because there's going to be a time where it's like, oh man, just like 3 weeks ago I felt great, and now I'm feeling kind of sluggish. I'm suffering to get my legs underneath me. So you do need a little bit of a recovery block in there so that you can let your body regroup, if you will, and then kind of recharge your batteries. But you don't want that recovery block to be too close to that Rebecca's race, because you're still going to have to try and peak to get back up to that peaked stage again. So you kind of have to play with some active recovery in there, and then the way that we work that week is based on how you're feeling. And that how you're feeling is going to have to do with like what the past couple of weeks have looked like.
Okay. So let's look at. I have Lance's Strava up here, so we cannot hide from this data right here. We have roughly the last 8 weeks.
And a taper for Lance is different than a taper for me, right? Where it's like
exactly.
So, and this was like when I was running, I was like, I would run so many miles that if you drop down to
what was your taper mile like?
I would
before?
Do an
80-mile week
on a big race. I would so 70, 80 somewhere in that range, and I would feel fresh as all get out.
I mean, in my lead up to nationals, I just did a 22-hour training week right before, which for me was coming down a little bit from what I had been doing. Yeah. So but
so taper is relative for sure.
Now Lance's taper, we're talking about a guy who's hitting around 300 miles of quality riding for a long time. That's not like trainer 300 miles a week. This was a lot of gravel grinding. Some mountain biking was tossed in here too, right?
Yeah.
A lot of climbing too. I'm seeing a lot of climbing on a lot of these rides. So since the beginning of June, second week of June, he hit
it's getting real.
15 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours, 22 hours.
Nice build.
He had a down 12-hour week. His down week was 12 hours.
Yeah, but the down week, so when you travel, it's sometimes those aren't as much recovery as you think that they're going to be.
That was like also the week that we did the South Rim ride. So that was a high intensity ride.
Yeah.
So longer ride in there. Then after that 15, he was back up to 15, 20. 26 was the first week of August. And then this week he's already put in 10 hours. It's Wednesday, folks. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say if you should not be hitting 26 hours.
How many weeks was that? About 7 weeks or so?
That
8
was
weeks?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks.
You're due for a recovery block. And we're not too far out. If you were to back off a little bit right now.
Look at your climbs right there. This is the week it should be coming down, or next week, which you're already planning on next week being down,
next
right?
week will be down.
So next week being down would be perfect.
And then after that, you've got 2 weeks to build back up to get to the race. Yeah, that'll work.
That's not bad.
It like after an active recovery week or just a recovery block, you're always going to come out of it feeling a little sluggish, and you want to be able to knock that out
to get through the sluggish
part.
part.
So, and then the following week, I usually find like after recovery week, it's usually like 2.5, 3 weeks after it for me. That's when my legs start to come back to life, and I can go through another like 2 or 3 weeks of just hammering. So your timing's pretty good.
Okay.
He's hitting this block pretty perfectly. I mean, if you just look at that data right there, that's his. Yeah. And just having ridden with him, I know it's not slow miles. It's hard group rides. It is.
He's chasing stuff, and he's hitting really good right now. So
absolutely,
I think you're gonna have fun at that gravel race.
I'm
so excited
really
to hear
looking
about
forward to it.
That's gonna be a blast.
You didn't get to do that last year, did you?
No, because it conflicts with the start of the cyclocross season here in Portland.
Yeah.
And so I chose to not do it and do the cyclocross season, and that
talk about coming
for
in
me.
Off great. You're going to be coming into some great fitness.
Are you going to miss the opener for GP? Are you going to miss David Douglas?
I am.
That's not a bad one to miss. That's my least favorite of theirs.
And I might potentially miss the next two.
Oh, you can't miss Hetmere. That one's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll make it because I'm supposed to do Cycle Oregon.
Well, if you need somebody to ride your cyclocross bike for you at that race,
so I'm considering doing Hetmere in the morning and then driving to the start of.
Well, you
Cycle
were just
Oregon.
lamenting about how it was not enough miles for you, so there you go.
Yeah,
that's true. You could easily do that.
Cycle Oregon's too short.
I'll catch up to you. I'll catch up to the group.
7 days.
Yeah, you got to handicap those poor people. They you got to give them a little head start.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, enough about me.
No, I like that. That was good. I love psychoanalyzing Lance's training right there.
All right. Your seat was plenty hot, so the seat next to yours is going to be hot now. Evan.
So there's another. These are all very selfish hot seat questions, but I'm making this another selfish hot seat question.
Beautiful.
Okay, so should I shave my arms before nationals? And 2,
Lance,
I'm not going to go clean shaven beard, but how much stubble should I leave?
Lance, you want to answer this one?
Gosh dang it. You know what?
The legs are clean. The legs are clean.
For the last month, every time I've been on my bike, all I do is look at the
Look at
hair
your
on
arms.
my arms and go,
See it, like,
I should
10
be
watts.
shaving all
10
this
watts.
stupid hair on my arms.
10 watts.
It feels so smooth when you're out there, man.
Imagine in 3 weeks if you're racing without that, how much faster you're going to be at this.
Oh, yeah, it's funny. Yep, shave them. Shave those
Really?
arms.
Okay,
Shave the
yeah.
face.
What do you think?
Do it.
The face doesn't
Free
matter. Shave
speed.
the arms.
Shave the arms?
Yeah. Do
So
whatever.
I can keep. I have not
whatever
been
you
clean
want to.
shaven since I was 13 years old, so I can't do that.
It won't matter.
Okay.
Face won't matter.
I'm going to at least bring it down to stubble. Maybe Lance's region.
Yeah. Whatever Lance does is the most beautiful thing.
There you go.
I shave once a week, whether I need it or not. I do not need to shave very often.
Okay. Yeah, arms are getting shaved then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
Bingo.
It's faster.
There you go. Yep.
It's faster, and this is your big race of the year.
Yeah.
I would.
Oh, it's worth it. Yeah.
Matt.
Here we go, Matt.
Your seat just got hot.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have a super hard question. One by systems. So for people that maybe don't know what I'm talking about, typically your front derailleur and front chainring, you have a small chainring and a larger one. But there's been a slight trend of just having one chain up front and maybe having 11 in the back. Do any of you guys ride a 1x system? And if you do you like it? Do you suggest it? Would you do it on the road? Would you do it on a time trial bike? Those are my questions that I have for you.
I would not do it on the road, but I have switched both my mountain bike and my cross bike to 1x systems.
What if it was 1x12? 1x14? 1x20? What would it do? What
Rotor
would it take?
Rotor has 1x13. I think that's the only one out there doing it, right?
1x13.
For the road, yeah.
What's that range look like? Was
massive,
it 36, 32?
No, it's like a 50. It's 1150 something. 51.
52.
What are you
52,
riding up on a 50?
The last jump is huge. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they do it.
What are you riding up on 60% grade at that point?
Well, I mean, the whole point is like
you don't have a small ring now. Yeah.
You don't need like that. You cover.
I guess that
the
ratio's
got to
be close to Yeah.
The
Okay.
ratios are somewhat close. They're not perfect, but they're saying that it's practical. There's a practical application to using that, and that you can cover just about everything that you would need from a 2x10
I'm sure there was
or 2x11
big
setup.
algorithm that went into that. So yeah.
Well, it's just I think it's
How much power are you losing by any potential? I know that you're not full cross training there, but the angle of that chain is getting to where
Right,
I mean,
that's
how
a-
many gears can you be throwing in
that's a
there
good
before
point.
the angle of that chain is taking away some power?
Well, they make it thinner a lot of times.
Okay.
Or tighter sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they switched up to go to 11 speed.
Yeah.
Thin out the chain and thin out
Okay.
the range between the gears.
I've had trouble with the 2x systems on my mountain bike and on my cross bike when I'm going through really rough terrain and there's a lot of chatter.
Yeah.
Especially on the cyclocross bike. My previous cyclocross bike had two chain rings in the front, and it would drop down to the
toss
small. It would toss it a couple times a race.
Yeah.
Just because, well, if you're going through a grassy section that has a lot of bumps and all that bump, it would just rattle it off. And so I wished so many times when I rode that bike that it was a 1x system.
So almost all 1x systems, they do they do like this even odd piece with the teeth of the chain or the chain ring, and that helps. That's one of the things that helps. The other thing that they do is the clutch on the rear derailleur to keep the chain taut.
The clutch is clutch. Yes.
Clutch is clutch.
Yeah.
So it just keeps constant tension on the chain. You don't
Correct.
have that moment when it's bouncing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It keeps it under constant tension keeps it on. Keeps
There
it
you
connected.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yes, road.
So for
triathlon.
since I've switched to the Di2 synchro shift, I've thought, I would go to that. It would make sense. Now, granted, we were just talking about we just signed up for Whistler. I'm not sure if I'd want that at Whistler. I want those.
Right.
But I mean, if I had a 50 in the back, or whatever it is.
We're gonna want a big range for Whistler because we're gonna want to.
I've been I know people always talk about that, but I've told you guys, like, I rode that, I still ride my 9-speed road bike.
Yeah.
And I rode that all through Colorado. And
Right.
I just developed as a very low cadence climber, which is ironic if you look at me because you're like, oh, Evan must look super strong. No, it's very, very not strong over here. It's just the type of riding that I do. I'm very out of the saddle and moving on the bike quite a bit. I'm like the anti Mike Myers. Like, you know how steady Mike is climbing?
Yeah.
You want to see a funny comparison? Lance, you probably saw this when me and Mike are climbing together. It's like Mike is just steady, stoic. I am like Italian and out of the bike and like
Dancing.
basically on the bike.
You would consider a 1x for triathlon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
TT
for road.
for a
Not road.
TT, I would consider it. Like, isn't Tom
Absolutely.
Dumoulin running a 1x?
He is.
Did he
So
run
was
one?
TT bike
Ooh, that would be
setups?
Ayers correction. I think he is.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he
I
is.
want to say he is, and we can double check that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I would do that because I don't think you necessarily need that small ring when you're doing a time trial.
And there's aerodynamic benefits to not having a front derailleur on your bike, which are not huge, but we're
When you
dorks.
add it all up,
we're nerds. Yeah. I mean, I think when we start to move to 1x12 systems, that they're going to be pretty alluring for even road bikes.
Yeah.
So, and obviously roaders going crazy with their 1x.
And not for nothing, the bicycle industry needs to be able to sell us something new to buy.
Sure.
So I think it's
Yes,
just
they
around the
definitely-
corner, and I'd say it's probably easily within the next 3 to 4 years that we're going to see it in road.
So I have a question about that because I've thought about that, and I'm wondering, like, you can't. Yes, you can sell a whole nother component group set to people, and that will cost. That will make your company money, but you're not selling the front derailleur, and that's an expensive component. So
Good point.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's a whole new system usually.
Yeah,
It's a whole new system,
They'll
yeah.
explain to you why the other stuff is so much more expensive.
they'll
though.
explain it to me. Yeah.
They'll-
Well, I'm just thinking to myself, all right,
They'll
well,
explain it.
if you're, you just buy that rear derailleur, you're shifting. That's where it's shifting. So theoretically, prices should come down.
That's not going to happen. They'll
right.
find some
Money's involved.
miraculously
It's not
new
coming down.
metal that'll
Yeah.
cost a little bit more, and they'll do something in there to make it work.
My dream come true is like a 1x12 or 1x13 with electronic shifting for the rear derailleur.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
So I
for
actually
TT or road
I actually
or
think
whatever.
we may have been. So maybe for the tour he switched, but no, June 27th. Here I'm looking at a picture of Tommy D's bike, and he's riding 5644. So he was still on 2.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
56.
I still think it's right around the corner, and I still think it's going to be something that they'll figure out a way to charge us more, and it'll be the future of the bike. So
Yeah.
And I'll buy it.
We all will.
I will bite that bullet and gladly bite it.
Yeah. Fist of money up in the air. Take my money.
Take my money.
Yeah.
All right.
Hot seat.
I
Mr.
guess
Jake.
it's my turn.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to do 2 questions here, if that's okay.
Nope.
In the spirit of my pending downtime that's coming up here, not being able to do too much after surgery, what would you guys like to see me get done in the next, say, 2 weeks? What can I do to make this little dog and pony show of ours better?
Let's go, Lance.
Well,
I think it's brilliant right now.
I know.
There's nothing
I like
wrong
it.
with it.
glorious. It's glorious.
It
It's
is.
glorious.
It's good stuff.
But just like a 2x11 drivetrain, it could be in a 1x13.
That's
so
true.
We
Take
need
our
video.
money.
electronic shifting.
Take our
we
money.
need video.
We talked about doing video.
Video.
We need video.
I would love to see.
I have a face for video. Look at how
That's
pretty
true.
this is.
This is true.
It's just gonna be a close up of Lance.
And we need Lance to put pants
shot.
on. So
It's gonna be
the camera's only on.
high definition Lance's face.
Yeah.
I
We'll definitely need high
think
def.
I think live streaming the podcast would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because granted, the people that do take the time to tune into the live stream will be able to have earlier access to it, and then after a bit more production, 2 days later, the podcast will actually be produced, or so, a couple days later, or whatever it is. But the live streaming, I think, would be really interesting, and because they can actually theoretically talk and comment as well.
Yeah.
Because I've always said this, like, the people that listen to this podcast are part of the podcast. Like, you guys get all our jokes. You guys definitely give us a hard time about all of our mistakes or whatever it is. And that's what we want for the podcast.
Yeah.
I think. We want it to be community driven. So if we do live, you would theoretically be able to comment, badger, make fun of
Yes.
make fun of Lance's pants situation.
All of the above.
References to
Get
Lance
rid of
romance.
Lance.
I don't know, something like that. But it could be fun.
Okay, so we'll put that on their live stream. You and I need to get together to figure that out, Matt, and
We will hang.
We
get
need
that dialed in.
We need a 5th producer to help run multiple camera angles.
Yes.
That's what we
Yes.
need.
We'll be
can we
taking
get your 11-year-old
applications.
daughter
We'll
in
be
here?
taking
Yeah.
applications for that.
That's gonna be hard. I think we'll be stuck to one camera angle for a while.
Yeah.
Well,
There
I
are
do
ways
have
to
a
do it.
gimbal, and that gimbal is something that I can control with my phone, and I can actually move it from where I'm sitting. So
Yes.
it kind of would work. But
Yeah, we can direct the camera, but we won't be able to have multiple camera switches. There's software for that we could use, but it's just another.
So we've got a little Lance romance bit. How about a little Evan and Matt bit too?
Yeah, that would be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might have
gonna
some
be
time on
something.
my hands coming up where I can maybe
We
come
are
up with something.
we are by far the two most annoying people on
Is
this
it
podcast.
gonna be
so-
like, hey, stupid stuff Evan and Matt have said, like,
or just like poor interjections of triathlon things that Matt and Evan had said. Like Jake and Lance are talking about awesome cycling things, and like Evan's like, oh, well, into the triathlon world.
but when you
Rambling by Matt. And
but when you're sliding on your shoes,
Yeah. Well, that's kinda like
with
running,
your
right?
With your elastic laces,
Yeah.
and
Save yourself a second and a half.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, so I asked all you guys that question. I'd like to hear that some feedback or some stuff from the listeners too. What would you guys like to see in the next couple of weeks?
I'd
that
like
we-
to interject, just healing your shoulder too. You know, like take
You're
care
gonna
of
need to
yourself.
rest.
Yeah.
you know.
please
Yeah.
do.
Let's hope
You're going to
that
get a lot of
happens.
help there, but yeah, that's
So yeah. Anyway, if the listeners have something to add to this, feel free to chime in. You guys know where to chime in. We've told you too many times now. My other little thing too, just hot seat things. What's a good movie or pastime for the next 2 weeks? What would you guys do if you guys had to like
That was
sit on
actually
your
my
butt
one
for
last
2
thing
weeks? What would you do?
Have you watched the Breaking Bad series? Did you ever get into that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Saw
because
that. It
that
was
was
good.
like one of the best things I've seen on television in the last 10 years.
Yes.
So,
Mindhunters is really good if you've seen that Netflix series.
Mindhunters. Haven't seen that. I'm gonna jot that down.
Mindhunters, yeah. It's about a group that studied the like a bunch of serial killers, and it's just a really cool like detective sort of looking into that world.
I'm gonna even say that this is gonna be my one last thing. That was my question. Will be my one last thing. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm looking over the time, going, Matt, you got anything else to add to my one last thing
No.
of good movie or pastime?
No, I think you'll be fine. There's so much stuff to go online, learn about, our live stream stuff or something. I don't know.
All right, you got it. All right, let's get into the rest of the one last thing, because that was my start off there. Lance, one last thing, bud.
Just showing some love to you, Jake. I
you,
wish you absolutely the best in this surgery and your recovery, and I'm really looking forward to you punishing me over the next 6, 8, 12 months.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be a long time from now, but hopefully I'll get back to that. So, Evan, one last thing.
This fall, you just point, and I will learn how to wrench to help in the garage over there. Just do the pointing on Mondays after the podcast, and I will do my best. But yeah, just quick recovery, and I will. God, I got some.
That'd be fun for me too. I'd come help as much
there
as
you
you
go.
need me to.
Have a party.
Well, it's a big learning experience for anyone that gets to do it. It's almost, I feel like it's almost a privilege, right? Like, Jake's going to teach you how to do, whatever it is, bottom bracket repair, whatever it is. So that's pretty valuable information.
Thanks.
Yeah,
you guys are all pretty savvy with that stuff, but I'm always happy to teach. So maybe we shouldn't be saying this out loud, because people that are bringing their bikes to me are like, wait a second, who's working on my bike?
Exactly.
Good point.
Like if Lance Evan or Matt is touching that bike,
anyone but Lance. Anyone but Lance. One last thing for me, real quick. Good luck to you, Jake. Evan, good luck to you.
Thank you,
Mr. Lance.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Travel safe, Lance.
Yeah. Don't cry too much.
That's my one last thing. Just wishing you guys luck. That's it.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming to the table here to sit down and talk about all this stuff days and days early. And we'll get this out next week for us, and for you guys. It'll be your normal, regularly scheduled dialed podcast. So, Lance, travel safe.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being an official empty nester.
I'm very close.
Right there.
And just like Matt, Evan, good luck at Nationals.
Thank you.
Matt, you have fun making your next videos. Go check out Matt's videos, please. You'll probably, I think if you go and you watch all of Matt's videos now, you'll probably save about 70 watts. 73 watts, I'm saying. So over under 70 watts.
You can backpedal and you'll somehow go fast. Somehow go fast and forward.
Yeah.
He's making some great stuff, so go check that out and enjoy your trip up to Mount Hood. It's going to be beautiful up there. So, all right, we will see you guys soon. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.